Something I've realized while reading this particular book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, is that a lot of what we call sales problem is actually communication problem. And I think one of the biggest places we see this is in objection handling. When a customer says it's expensive, delivery fee is too expensive, let me think about it, I'll get back to you. I've tried something like this before, it didn't work. What does the average business owner does? The average business owner would just say, probably they start defending the product, but our product is of high quality, the delivery companies are expensive, but you're getting value for your money. And somehow they might start arguing with the customer who actually never said, I don't want to buy, just pointing out something that may make them not buy the product. And this is day 2 of our 30-day sales challenge, sales psychology lab. I actually already shot the video, as you can see, but somehow the voice quality is quite bad, and instead of discarding the video, I'll be using voiceover to actually just talk about every single thing I learned in day 2. So objections are not always rejections. One of the biggest thing I am taking from this book is an objection doesn't always mean the customer doesn't want to buy. Sometimes an objection is simply a request for more information. Think about it. When a customer says this is too expensive, what does that actually mean? Does it mean that I don't want the product, or does it mean I don't understand why this costs much, or I'm comparing it to something else and it feels more expensive, or I want it, I cannot afford it right now? So these are like what people are thinking, not what you're hearing. You have actually answered none of the real question. If you are answering something like, oh, but our product is high quality, you have not answered what they actually mean. You have just answered what you want to hear. And this is where listening becomes more important for business owners. Objection is data. When your customer tells you what they are worried about, they are giving you information about what is stopping them from making that buying decision. So instead of immediately trying to fight an objection, investigate it. One of the principles he talked about in this book repeatedly is avoiding arguments, and I really subscribe to that. When I first read it, I was thinking maybe it was arguments between people, but the more I thought about it, I realized this applies directly to sales. Imagine someone tells you your delivery fee is too expensive and you respond, it is not expensive, that's what delivery company charge. Technically you are right, but have you achieved anything doing that or saying that? You have just proven that you are right. You have not moved the customer closer to buying, so probably not. In fact, you might have even made the customer feel like you're dismissing their concern. So instead of just saying it's not expensive, you can say something like, I understand the delivery fee is making the total cost high for you. Try to agree first with the customer before going further to make any form of explanation. Agree and understand that, yes, I understand your point. I'm thinking from your point of view. He said something in his book and it was like, think from your customers or from your audience point of view. Don't just think from your own point of view. You don't know anything until you ask. So it can actually be like this customer have probably messaged somebody else and maybe the delivery fee was way lower. That was why he or she is telling you your delivery fee is high. So sometimes you even need to ask question. Instead of asking, how do I overcome this objection? Start asking, what is this type of objection telling me? What is this objection telling me? That small change in perspective can completely change the conversation. Another thing he said is, don't tell, ask. And this one actually stood out to me because this particular principle comes back to asking question instead of forcing conclusion. Let's give an example. Let's say somebody says, I've tried products like this before and they didn't work. A salesperson might just say, but ours is different. And then they start listing ingredients and the likes. But what if you ask, what did you use before? Then you go ahead and say, and what were you hoping it would help you achieve? Now the customer is talking, and while the customer is talking, you are learning, you are listening, you are understanding why the last product or the previous product wasn't giving the result. Is it that it was not used consistently? Is it that it was not the right product for the problem the customer is trying to um fix? Is it that the customer has unrealistic expectation? Is it that they just simply had a very bad experience? You can't solve a problem until you understand it very carefully. Now, another thing I have been paying a lot of attention to since yesterday is the problem isn't the message, it is the way the message is communicated. For example, imagine your ad says you're gaining weight because you're not eating enough. The intention may be to educate, but the customer may hear, so you're saying I'm not eating properly. Or imagine a business saying you're wasting money on the wrong ad. The business owner may think, I am helping you understand your mistake, but the customer may be hearing, you don't know what you're doing, and that may feel offensive, and they'll start defending themselves because they actually feel attacked. Another thing I learned is that in this book is that people don't like feeling that they are being sold to. Think about yourself. You don't wake up any morning, early every morning and say, "Oh, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this." Nobody likes spending money. Actually, I think I've noticed that. But if someone helps you think through your problem, if somebody actually shows you that, oh, you're having a problem, even when you don't even realize that you're having that problem, the decision feels easier and it feels different. And that's why question is actually very powerful. Now, this is where a lot of business owners have problem. They get customer interested, but they don't know how to close. The person has asked how much, you have answered. They've asked how do I order, you've explained. They've asked and you have answered everything, and then nothing. And sometimes the business owner is waiting for the customer to magically say, okay, send me your account number. But sometimes you actually have to ask for the decision. Closing isn't necessarily about pressuring someone. Closing can simply mean making the next step clear. So instead of ending a conversation with let me know, you could say, would you like me to reserve one for you? Would you like to go ahead with your order? Which option would you prefer? Would you like me to send you your payment details? Like all these are things you need to say to close a sale. And this is where everything starts connecting together. If someone says I'll think about it, don't immediately say okay, and don't start begging either. Absolutely. Is there anything you are still unsure about? I can clarify it for you. Make them understand that you are willing to help them through the process, and that alone, that response can actually sell you that product. So your response is actually the main problem here. And one other thing I learned from this book is you don't want to leave out appreciation, not flattery, like I mean honest, sincere appreciation. You don't have to tell the customer that, oh, you're the best customer, but you can tell the customer something like, thank you for trusting us. I really appreciate you coming back. Thank you for explaining what you think or what you're looking for. That actually helped me recommend the right option. Ensure you are always appreciating your customer. And what I am testing now and that is getting me interested is I'm currently running ads, which means I'll actually be getting a lot of customer conversation every day, and I'm going to use this conversation as a laboratory. One of the objection customer gets is one of the objection I get mostly is your delivery fee is too high. So instead of getting defensive and trying to explain myself away, I will start paying more attention and ask the right question. And I'll definitely share every single thing that I get, like whatever my customer says, I am going to share it and tell you how it went. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson from the part of this book. Sales isn't always about finding the perfect words to convince customer. Sometimes it's about removing the reason why they feel uncomfortable to say yes. So what do? You listen, understand, ask, clarify, address the concern, and then make the next step very easy. You're not fighting the customer. The customer is not your problem. You are helping the customer make a decision. And I think that is completely a different way of looking at sales. And this is exactly what I'll be doing for the next 30 days challenge. I am not trying to become somebody who can memorize 10 sales technique or come online and tell you or teach you something. I am actually trying to understand why people behave the way they do and why they are buying and why they are not. And I want to take everything I am learning and apply it to real businesses, test it, document what happens, share the results with you. So for the next few days, I'm going to be actively practicing this principle in my own life, my business, my customers, conversation, and my content, even my sales process. And I'm going to be paying particular attention to objection, closing, the language I am using, how much I am asking versus how much I am telling. Because if I can learn how to understand people better, I should be able to communicate better. And if I can communicate better, I should be able to sell better. But I'm not going to assume that. I'm going to test it. This is day 2 of 30 days psychology lab, and I'll see you on the next experiment. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Toodles!